What's up guys, welcome to today's video. Today is all about the differences between a DJ and a music producer. That's my hands. There is one problem though, I'm not a producer, so I need to go and speak to someone that is. Let's go. So just heading towards my Friday residency, which we are running as a live stream at the moment. If you want to see how we run that, link at the top there somewhere. So when it comes to the music production side of things, like, don't get me wrong, I know the basics of Ableton. I could put together like a mashup, like a mix or an edit for a DJ set, but completing a track from start to finish, that is not my bag at all. Luckily tonight I'm DJing with a good producer mate of mine, Tempo Elektrik. He's a DJ and a producer, so I'm going to try and grab him after his set, try and ask him a few questions. So if you want to get into production, stick around and let's see what he has to say.
Here he is. Right, shall we get set up? Here's Tempo ready to go, ready to smash the house.
He's always ready.
Upside down, you're turning me. You're giving love instinctively. Around and around, you're turning me. Say to me respectfully. I said upside down, you're turning me. 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 Turning me. Turning me. Turning me. I said upside down, you're turning me. I said upside.
All right, so set done. I've got Tempo Elektrik here joining me, bit of a socially distanced interview. So Tempo, good to see you, mate. How did you find the live stream?
It's strange. It's a strange feeling. Odd. It's odd. I've DJed in empty clubs with not that many people. I've DJed in very, very busy clubs, especially here. DJing with nobody and knowing nobody's going to come in, very, very, very strange. And it's really hot. Today is probably one of the hottest days of the year. Not ideal. I should have worn shorts like COVID.
So Tempo, this channel is all about helping new beginner DJs. Where did it all start for you? DJing, producing, bit of both? How did it all begin for you?
I started DJing in 1994. Really old. I actually started, my brother used to do mobile discos, weddings, birthday parties, that kind of thing, and I started going with him. Used to just go along, then it used to be go along and carry boxes, then it was go along, carry boxes, play a little bit of music, and before I knew it, I was going along, he was getting paid and I was doing everything. Kind of evolved from there. I did my first bar when I was 16, did my first club when I was 17, and it kind of went on from there. DJed abroad, I did a whole season in Greece, which was kind of the turning point really.
Would you recommend doing a season?
I think that if you're young enough and you don't have the commitment, it's definitely worth going to do. I think that your passion for music has to be it can't be about fame, it can't be about money, it has to be about the music. And if you go and do a season, you will know whether you love music enough to actually do this for a living. Because it's not easy. It's not easy, and it's a lot harder now than it was when I started. When I was out there, not everyone wanted to be a DJ. Now you all want to be DJs.
Well, DJing was first for you, and then production. Where did that kind of come in?
Yeah, it's strange because before I actually started to like DJ and make money from DJing, I kind of dabbled with production software, not as we know it now, we're talking a long, long time ago, mid-90s, where I kind of didn't set myself up, but I had an idea that it was something that I wanted to go into, but I'm guessing at the time it wasn't right for me to do it then. Kind of DJ'd, got myself really into a point where I started making contacts, and it got to around about 2000. So I've been DJing for a good 5 years, and around about 99, 2000 is when I really kind of thought I want to turn my hand into production. Tempo Elektrik is something relatively new. It only started round about 2013, 2014, and it's taken me a good 5-6 years to get a name that's kind of known. Like, obviously recently we've had really good support on my last track. Kiss have jumped all over it. Obviously we had Radio 1 as well with MistaJam, which was something that I'd been working towards for a long time, and I've got some people around me that, Carl included, where I've kind of bounced stuff off, and it's always been getting to that point, but it's taken a long time. Like I say, Tempo Elektrik's 5-6 years old now, but I'd produced well before the brand came along. It just so happens that the deep house scene came along. It's kind of where I find my music sitting. I kind of go one way or another with it, but it's along them lines. But I'm a bit more commercial, sometimes a bit more underground. Depends on how long my hair is, I guess. I don't know. It's a hard one to explain, but yeah, definitely the production idea was always there. But I wanted to play music. I've loved music from a young age. I played piano, I played drums, I played the guitar. For me, it was always going to be something to do with music.
And would you say that being a producer is one thing and being a DJ is a completely different thing? Like, how does being a producer differ?
They're not connected. I don't believe that they're connected. A DJ is pretty simple. It depends on what level we're talking here. A DJ that plays in the club, he plays music. He might pick the mic, or she might pick the mic up a little bit, but it's really about playing music. Even if you're on the radio and you're a DJ on the radio, majority of it's you're talking. You're a personality. You can come across in a way where you obviously wouldn't do in a nightclub or a bar. But again, you're talking and you're playing music. A producer, people get confused. You hear a lot about producers. Oh, this guy doesn't produce this track. Don't get confused. Don't think that because someone hasn't sat there and doesn't know how to engineer it on the computer, on the software side, with the plugins, or it could be outboard stuff. That doesn't mean you're a producer. A producer is someone that can put everything together from start to finish and make a track. They don't have to be hands-on. They don't have to be a whiz on the computer, making everything gel together. That's really an engineer. You're talking two different things. A producer is someone who has the ideas up here. He might bring in a guitarist, or she might bring in a drum player or a percussionist, bring in a vocalist, or they might get someone who they know in the studio that can engineer and do exactly what they have in their head. But a lot of people get mixed up and think, oh well, this producer he didn't really produce that track, or she didn't really produce that track. It doesn't really work like that. It annoys me a little bit, because not everyone is going to be good at everything, and sometimes it's better to use. I use a guy that mixes my stuff down now. He's a very good friend of mine, and I work all of my tracks go through him, and if he cannot make it sound right, I know that it's not right, and I move on to the next project. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. If Carl, for example, he knows his music, and he is probably not at a point where he can sit down and make a track from scratch, mix it, master it. That's not his bag. He's really a DJ, but understands production. So there's nothing saying that Carl can pick the phone up to me and say, Jay, I want your help. Or somebody else that he knows who might mix it down, or somebody else might master it. It's about being able to sit in that chair and go, right, I want you to do this. I need you to do that. And at the end of it, you've got a track that you can turn around and say, that's exactly what I wanted from the start, and here's the finished product.
And you kind of touch upon it there, but what would you say are the key kind of skills when I guess you need quite a lot of patience, I think.
Yeah, do you know what? I touched on it. This stuff doesn't come easy. They say that you have to do 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours, and this is not just in music production. This is a lot of things. You've got to put the time and effort in, and I think you have to understand music. You don't have to be able to read music to make music. you don't have to be able to play an instrument to make music these days. The software out there is so different now to how it was in the olden days.
You use Logic, right?
Yeah, and I've been on Logic since the 90s. That's what I first started on, and I've played around with other things. A lot of the house producers now, they use Ableton, they like it. Me personally, it doesn't work for me. I think it's a bit messy, but that's just my personal preference. You have to be creative. I think that's one thing. To want to make music, you have to be creative. There is no point going, I want my track to sound like MK, or I want my track to sound like Sigala, or I want my track to sound like, I don't know, Storms, whoever. You have to have, your track needs to sound like Jay, Tempo Elektrik, or it needs to sound like Carl, it needs to sound like John, Pippa, Hilda, whatever your name is, because you be creative. And some of the best artists out there are the ones that sound like themselves. They don't sound like everyone else. Because I'll tell you something, if you're making tech house now, by the time you've learned how to produce, no one will be listening to it. So you have to be able to evolve as well.
Almost find the next sound that's gonna make it.
Yeah, be an innovator. But like, go out there and do something. Look, Oliver Heldens, classic example, 16-year-old kid, came out with a sound that wasn't really a genre. It wasn't really techno, it wasn't really house. He came and he smashed it, and he changed the scene, and the kid was 16. So it can be done, anyone can do it, but you've got to be yourself, because if you follow the trends, what you'll find is that if you hear a track on the radio or in a club, the likelihood is that person has probably done at least another 5 tracks that sound like that. So what you're doing, you're just making the same thing that everyone else is making, and by the time you've cracked it, no one's going to be listening to that anymore. So it's important to be yourself.
Brilliant. And then I guess the final thing, we're kind of starting to touch upon this, is like, the guys watching this, you know, they might be new DJs, they might be new to production. What advice or key advice would you give to somebody that's new to production, or perhaps interested and wants to start to produce?
It's really experimental. You obviously have to learn your DAW. So I would suggest trial versions of, so a DAW is your software that you use to create. Try trial versions and find your DAW that suits you. You've got Fruity Loops, you've got Ableton, you've got Logic, Cubase. Pro Tools, I wouldn't advise producing in Pro Tools, but some people do. But it's not something I wouldn't go down that route. Find your DAW, understand your software first. That's the most important thing, because once you're comfortable in your environment, whether you've got loads of money and you can get out a studio, or you're sitting at your dining table on your laptop, or in your bedroom, or on the train in a bus, whatever.
And that's the thing, you don't need loads of money in a massive studio
and
setup.
you know what, you don't have to. I've spent a bit of money on my stuff, but that's just where it's evolved. I started off little laptop. In fact, I started off with one of them dodgy iMacs that was like a big TV screen. That's where I started off. And as I got into it, I felt like I had to spend a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there. So don't worry about having to be flash. I will say, if you can, go Mac. It's just a little bit easier. There will be producers out there screaming at this now, going, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Trust me, it's probably better if you go Mac. And I tell you what, if you go Mac, I will give you free advice. You can hit me up, and I'm always at the end of a phone or an email or a message, and there are loads of people out there that are willing to give their help. YouTube's great for this kind of thing. Which is why you're watching now.
We'll link you in the description.
There's a subscribe.
In the description.
It's somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that would be my thing. Learn your DAW first. That's the most important thing. And then it's about being creative. That you can find loads of free sample packs. There's loads of free instruments that come with the DAWs. So forget about your sound for the beginning. You're probably better off using presets, and you'll find hundreds and thousands of them. Splice is very good. Go on to Splice. Sign up for Splice if you can. It's like $9 a month. and you'll get so much out of that just by putting loops and stuff together to just be creative at first, and then you can start evolving and going on to creating your own sounds and that kind of thing. So be creative, know your door, be creative, and experiment. It starts off and you walk into it, you turn your door on for the first time and you're like, where the hell do I look? And again, YouTube, great. How to start. You will see so much stuff online that will help you. And like I say, there's people out there that are willing to help. Not everyone wants to charge money for it. And I think that if you can get into that mindset that there's help out there, it will help you. And start making stuff you like. So it might not sound like it's meant to sound, but that's how you start. So if you like, say for example, Tempo Elektrik is your favourite artist at the moment.
Of course he is.
I'm pushing it a little bit, but let's just say that you kind of like housey stuff. I like housey stuff. I kind of like his sound. Try and recreate it. That's probably the best thing to do. And like I say, I'm around. If you want to hit me up and say, how did you do that? I'm quite willing to message you back, do some screen shares and show you that kind of thing, because if I can give something back, then I will. And that would be where I'd say, start with that. Start with YouTube. Look at tutorials and that kind of thing. If they look too complicated, it probably means that they are. So try and find something a little bit more simpler and play with it. You can't do anything wrong, and always save your projects, because if you don't save your projects, you will regret it. Save from start, and if you make changes, version 1, version 2, I've got tracks that go up to version 50, 60, so honestly don't worry about it. Obviously if you're worried about space, then you might need to start deleting stuff, but yeah, make sure you always save your work, because you never know, that one project you might think, I might need something from that, and keep it. And that's a good bit of advice as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time today.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Cheers. So there we have it, guys. I hope you found my interview with Tempo Elektrik yesterday interesting and informative. I've linked all of his details below if you did want to get in touch with him. There's like Instagram, his website, and also as well the link to his latest single that was played on Radio 1 and is being absolutely hammered by all the radio stations out there. And I always think it's really good when you are given the opportunity to DJ with other DJs to ask them some questions, because this is an industry where it's always evolving. You never stop learning. Thank you so much to everybody that has subscribed so far. I've now hit over the 100 subscriber mark, which is fantastic. If you like this type of content, please do consider hitting the subscribe button. It means the absolute world to me. See you in the comments below. Drop me a comment, let me know your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one.